Well, here we are, everybody. It's me, Mitch, and it's time for an adventure. And I'm taking you along for the ride. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out. So you can see what it's going to be like if you decide to do this and figure it out. Now, right here, I have completely washed the different pieces and parts of the new Ninja air fryer, grill, griddle, whatever it is. They have dried, and I'm going to put it back together. I'm going to let you see how. Now this thing, if you just lay it back like this when it's open, you can really get to this real easily. It's just simple. There's just a little hook there. You press down on this clip and snap it in. And that's all there is to putting this screen in and out. It's much easier than the previous way, and should be just eliminate most of the cleaning around it. Then you just simply basically will set this back up on the base. We're not using the air fryer basket. What we're going to do today is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the single best use cases for a carnivore to have this. So I thought I would start with that first, and that is cooking a nice thick ribeye from frozen on the grill. And you're going to learn right along with me how to do this. Now, this thing was washed. I'm going to install it by putting the front in first, pushing down on the back, and that's installed. I have never plugged this in yet. So let's see what happens when I plug it in. And turn it on. Power. It says high 10. I have no idea what that is. I have settings here. I have grill, roast, broil, and bake. And let me bring you over here so you can see what I'm seeing. So I have it on broil, or grill rather. And a great thing about the documentation, instruction books that come with this, which I did look over. I know it's not a manly thing to do to read the directions, but I did look this over. And they have all kinds of charts in here for all the different methods that you can cook. And on the chart that says grill chart, closed hood cooking, there's a category that says frozen beef. And we have burgers, filet mignon, New York strip, and ribeyes. It says here you can cook up to 3 steaks. We're only going to cook 1. Season as desired. You cook it on medium. Okay, so there's buttons here. And one of them says temperature. So if I push that and turn this back to medium, that's how I set that. It also says cook time, 23 to 28 minutes. So I have another button here that says time. And I'm going to go and set it for maybe 25 minutes, and then we'll check it. And rather than use the built-in thermometer, which just is, I'll figure out how to do it. I'm sure it's useful. But for me, I just as soon be able to know the correct time and temperature for something and then just do it. And I can stop and just stick a little thermometer in at any time and check. So now it says medium. And what else does it say? Flip 2 or 3 times when cooking. Okay, I can do that. So that's all I need to worry about. I've got all the buttons pushed. I've got everything set right. This has a preheat phase, and while it's preheating, I will take my steak out and salt it and get ready. So I think there should be a button on here that says preheat. So I will click that. And nothing happens. So you push this knob in to start. And now it's starting the preheat. Super. I'll take this opportunity to open my frozen steak right here. And this is a nice 17-ounce ribeye that I got last July, almost a year ago, at Sam's Club in one of my marked down meat hunts. And we're going to stick this in here. And I'm going to take this opportunity. I think I'm going to salt this with Redmond's. It's a little finer. Just put a dusting of salt on it. And I'm only going to salt one side. I don't want to over salt these things. I can always salt them a little more after it's cooked. So this thing is preheating. And I don't know how many minutes it's going to take to preheat. There's a little progress bar running right here. It's no noisier than my previous Ninja, the 551, maybe even a little quieter. So we'll let that preheat. Got my steak ready to throw in there. If this works and this comes out good, wow, will I be happy. And when we're done, after all that I went through with this plate right here and this knife right here, I'm going to try this on a steak for the first time, and that'll be my first meal of the day. What a way to start. So we'll be back. We'll be back when this thing is done preheating. Okay, that didn't take as long as I thought, probably 5 or 6 minutes. It tells me to add the food now. I've got my tongs that are rubber, silicone, so as not to even think about scratching the surface on that grill. We're going to open the lid, we're going to put it on the grill, and we're going to shut the lid, and away it goes. And it's got 25 minutes left on the timer. Since I know that I'm supposed to flip this, said 2 or 3 times, in about 7 or 8 minutes I'll turn it for the first time. I'm also going to turn on the range hood. I doubt that's going to make any more noise than this thing is already. Turn on the range hood in case there's any smoke. It's going to be interesting to see if it smokes at all. You can use that grill. You can use the grill with the lid open, but not for cooking frozen. You need the heat from the bottom and the heat from the top to make sure that the steak actually does get cooked. I smell it already. It smells good. This is the first time this has ever been plugged in. It's very intuitive to operate with just a knob and different function buttons that change what the knob does. Set the time, set the temperature. The other buttons, one of them says manual, one says preheat, one says doneness. That's for when you're using the thermometer. There's one that says function and temp and time. Evidently, the ones on the bottom may be for dehydrate as well. At any rate, it says barbecue, griddle, air crisp, and dehydrate. So evidently these buttons, I'll read a little bit more, but it's very, very intuitive. And I can tell you that most of the things that you can cook with this, we're probably not going to use it for. We're certainly not going to use it to bake. We might make some beef jerky with it because it does have a dehydrate function, which is cool, and I may have to try that. We're definitely, and probably the 2 biggest uses for this thing are going to be cooking steaks from frozen, which is great because you got to take you half an hour right out of the freezer. Of course, I like sous vide, I like the control, but I did a steak from raw in the other Ninja, and it came out terrific. So it's going to be interesting to see. And chicken wings. That's been my main use for the air fryer. But if you can, and I did salmon in it too, and it came out good. So if you can cook fish, if you can cook a steak from raw, or a steak that's thawed, and you can cook chicken wings or chicken thighs or drumsticks in this, I think it'd be a handy appliance to have around. So we're going to come back when it's time to flip this over and see how it's going.
A few moments later.
Okay, we've about 8 minutes into the cooking. It is smelling good. I'm going to take my tongs. These tongs are rubber, just in case I don't want to scratch up the grill. I'm going to flip it. Here we go. If I can get the tongs under the steak. That's the problem with these rubber tongs. Well, let's flip it this way. Wow, look at the grill marks. Holy cow, that looks great. That looks great. All right, close the lid, come back in another 8 minutes, and maybe flip it again. So that's one time. It said 2 or 3.
A few moments later.
We are sitting at about 8 minutes. We're about 2/3 through the cook. I think it may help to have a fork to hold the steak in place while I put the tongs under it. So at 8 minutes, we're going to open it up. Wow, we're going to take, that's the ticket. We're going to flip it again. I'm going to turn it this way to make crosshatch patterns. That is cooking away. Wow. Now I'm going to open it again at 23 minutes because the instructions said between 23 and 28 minutes. So when it gets to 23 minutes, which means 2 minutes left, I am going to check the internal temperature with this little handheld thermometer, which I use all the time. Whenever I cook burgers in a frying pan, I use this thermometer to make sure that they're not raw inside and they're done. When I cook fish, when I fry fish, I use this to make sure that the fish is up to the right temperature, so it's flaky and not overcooked. And so far this has been very, very easy. Very little effort. Be interesting to see the cleanup that might be required, but I just can't imagine it being all that much. And so far, fingers crossed. Okay, we're coming up on 2 minutes. Just for grins, let's see what the temperature of this steak is internally. Wow. It is, I don't know what it's reading, but it is very hot. Almost too hot. I'm going to take it out now, and I may have learned something about how long you really need to cook a steak from frozen, and the fact that I'm only cooking one steak. This is an experiment, and I may have overcooked this steak, and that would be a shame, but I'm going to eat it anyway. I'm going to put it on my cutting board here. I'm going to turn this off and let that cool down, and we're going to turn the camera around, and I'm going to cut into this and see what I got. I have a funny feeling it's just cooked too much. It's plenty juicy, but let's see. We've got the new knife. It's tender. Still pink inside. But I think the next time I do, it certainly looks good. I think that the next time I do this, and wow, does this knife cut through this like butter. This is cool. Both in my website, on the links to stuff I use page, and in the description of this video is a link to this thing, which as of July 1st is still on sale. I think the next time I do this, I'm going to start with 20, maybe 18 minutes and see where I'm at. But this looks terrific. So let me taste this. It's tasty. It's excellent. It's just the right amount of salt too. A little more done than I'd like, but still pink in the inside. 25 minutes would have been way too long. I'm glad I checked it a little early. But I think closer to 18 to 20 minutes if you're cooking only one steak. I imagine that if you've got 3 steaks in there, that kind of cools down the whole inside and maybe slows the cooking down. But that's why I'm doing these videos, and that's why I'm doing them in front of you guys. To see the reality of this the first time. How hard is it to use? How long does it take? It took less than a half an hour from the freezer to the cutting board. So this is my first meal of the day. I'm going to finish eating this. It's delicious. And I'll see you in the next one. So take the rest of the day off and eat meat. Where's the meat? Eat meat.